Next, we'll get into visual inspections of the machines, things that should be checked on a daily basis. Let's look at tires. You can typically see if a tire is low on air pressure. If you do need to add air for any reason, please go back to the manufacturer specification. We realize that not all sweepers that are out there are using the exact same tire by the exact same manufacturer. Then I'd like to get into checking fluids. As we head to the front of the machine, you're going to notice that we do have our brake fluid for our master brake cylinder located underneath of the front hood. Check the level on the brake fluid. We get into the windshield washer fluid, also located under the front. Add if needed. And let's move around and open up the side panel. Here inside the panel is our diesel fuel diesel fuel fill. It's a 35-gallon diesel fuel tank. Please be sure that it's as clean as it can be when you remove the cap and as clean as it can be when you put it back on tightly. We want to make sure that we do not get any water or dirt contaminants inside of the fill neck. Fluid checks at the rear of the machine will consist of hydraulic oil check. You have a visible sight gauge located left and right hand side of the machine. The hydraulic oil tower is located here on either side. Okay, they are plumbed together, so please know that you can fill from either side, but also you can check the visible sight gauge from either side. As long as you see oil in one side or the other, because the ground can be unlevel, you're good to go operate this machine. We just need to see oil visible in a sight glass on either side. At the back of the machine, you're also going to notice located up higher, you'll need a ladder to check this, that's going to be our coolant. Okay, from where I'm standing here, there is a visible sight gauge there for the tank. We want to see coolant in that gauge or we're low. Let's add coolant. I raise the rear cover and you're going to notice our DEF tank. This is a 5-gallon DEF tank. Very, very critical that we pay attention to keeping this clean as well, because contaminants will really mess with the system if we get any kind of dirt, debris, water, anything inside of the DEF tank. We want to keep that as clean as possible, make sure the cap is put back on there tightly. In reality, I know it's not always possible to do so, but every time we top off the fuel level, we should top off the DEF. I realize you're not consuming it as quickly, but it'll help eliminate any kind of false codes or anything thrown by the Cummins engine. If I open up my radiator and oil cooler, you're going to notice here that I have access to the engine oil check, to the engine oil dipstick. Please check this oil level daily. Something that Global does that will make life a bit easier if you do need to add any fluids is we put a decal right here on the hydraulic oil tower that spells out all fluids that would go into the system if you need to fill. Something else we're going to do at the back end of the machine before we go to the next step, which would be to raise the hopper and inspect underneath of the hopper, is we're going to come back, we're going to keep our oil cooler radiator open, we're going to visually inspect that, we're going to take a good look at it, make sure everything inside is clean, we're going to inspect the actual engine fan, make sure that the fan blades are intact. With the oil cooler and radiator, I don't want you to just look and clean the center of that. Please make sure you do realize that that fan will blast dust and particles to the outside as well. We need to make sure that the outer ring is also clean, okay? From here, we'll also take a look and make note of where the engine air filter is located. This should be changed according to the service book. We don't recommend cleaning that. When it's due for change, let's take it, remove it, and change that. We'll close up our oil cooler and radiator. Make sure it's latched. And then I'm going to make note that at the top we have two switches. These are protection switches. The last thing that we want is for the engine to have the ability to crank. If someone's in the cab and they don't realize we have a technician or an operator back here doing any work at the rear of the machine. One switch is actually tied to the engine computer, the other is tied to the engine starter, so it's a double fail-safe. If one of them goes, you're still protected. We must make sure that everything's out of the way and the rear cover is closed, which would activate those switches and allow us to head to the cab to start the engine. else that we do for safety that we want you to take a look at and make sure that it's clean daily is we do mount a rear camera on every system. This rear camera lens, like anything else, can get dirty. Clean it. Make sure that it's pointed in the right direction. You're going to notice that this thing is not pointed straight out to see what's happening down the street. This is pointed down to see who's close to the machine, who's behind the machine, and what kind of a job we're doing while we're sweeping as we go down the road.